podcast number 2, and I'm here with Celso.
Hi.
How's it going, brother?
I'm doing well.
So if you pull the mic closer to your face, audio would be perfect. But yeah, so Celso is also a 3D design artist. I probably met you, like 6 years ago, 7?
Yeah, around that. At Nirvana.
At Nirvana. So while I was at Chorus Entertainment, I moved into Celso, and I was another talented 3D artist. But yeah, so you're Brazilian?
Yeah, Brazilian. Been here for about 10 years now.
Nice.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be a 3D artist in the Toronto industry from Brazil?
Well, feels good. Being from outside was never a factor. Like I never considered that as being different because most people here are from somewhere else, right?
Right.
But I just been to Brazil to a art convention.
Nice.
And that shifted my perspective a little bit because seeing how a lot of like where I am now, it's the final goal for a lot of people. So that was a little bit of a mind fuck, like just because we don't really realize how far we are now until you see somebody that actually like wants to be where you are, and then
Right. So the industry itself. So when you were growing up in Brazil, did you always know that you wanted to be a 3D design artist, or like
I didn't even know that was a career.
So what's it like growing up in Brazil, like in terms of like, because like when you grow up in Brazil, like what are the mainstream career paths for someone that lives in Brazil?
Well, when it comes to art, the only thing that I knew I could do was graphic design or architecture.
Is that popular?
Those were the only two options for like that you could draw for a living. Mm-hmm. I knew of like comic book artists and people like that, but they were so few, and you had to be like the best to actually make any money.
Right.
So I chose graphic design, and the college I went to was mixed, was graphic design and industrial design, was the same program.
Right.
And I just happened to start learning 3D on my own for like I download 3D Max and start messing around. I use for one project. My friends start hiring me to do small things for their projects.
What kind of projects were you working on at the time?
Well, those were just like if you needed some like a 3D graphic for your final program, like your final project. Mm-hmm. They were like I was helping people with that.
Right.
And then I started messing around with architecture, like just making. I met a guy who was doing that for a living, just like making 3D visualizations of architecture projects. So I started doing that with him, and from that I got hired at a local TV station. Yeah. But most of this was because nobody in my town knew how to do 3D. It wasn't because I was any good.
Right.
It was just like I was the only one doing it. Like there was me and this other guy. Yeah. And the guy who was doing this for the TV station moved to São Paulo, so they needed somebody else, and they're like, oh, I guess this kid is doing it, so they hired me for it. And then I moved to São Paulo. Then things started getting more serious.
So in what year did you dive into the 3D aspect of things? Like how old were you when you started experimenting?
I think I was 19 when I started, like when I downloaded Max for the first time.
Right.
And then
over there, like the education system and stuff like that. So at 18 you graduate from high school, or is it similar to how it is here?
It's similar, yeah. I started in college at 17 because my birthday is in October, so
gotcha.
Yeah. And the year there starts, like the school year starts in January, like here it starts in September, right? So there's a little bit of a shift there because summer is in December. So
then you experimented with 3D stuff, and then you went to school for graphic design.
Yeah.
And then that was in Sao Paulo?
No, that was in the small town I'm from.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then in São Paulo I started messing around with more like more character-oriented stuff. Right. Started working for an illustration studio, so I was the 3D department.
Illustration studio.
Yeah, and then my girlfriend at the time, her parents were moving to Canada.
Gotcha.
And they just followed her here, and things kind of worked out.
Pretty interesting journey.
Yeah, I followed her here. I was like, well, the worst that can happen is I go back, right?
Right.
So I came with her, and like we got married, and then like when my visa was out, my work visa was out, I didn't speak English when I first got here, so it was a good 6 months just like learning English and working like side jobs, and then.
And how long ago was that?
It's going to be 10 years,
10 years?
in December. Yeah.
Okay. And then what did your parents think when you told them that you were leaving to Canada with your girlfriend at the time?
Well, they didn't say anything,
Right.
but I think they believed I would be back really quick.
Gotcha.
They were like, yeah, you go, you do your thing, and you come back. And yeah.
So, in terms of like just the lifestyle here, or like what made them so certain that you were going to come back?
I think, well, I don't think I think they thought it was going to be harder for me to succeed here.
Mm-hmm.
And I just happened to be lucky enough that I didn't have to go back, right? Because they knew I didn't speak English, so I think that was the main thing. They were like, oh, who is he kidding, right? And then, like with my broken English, I started approaching studios, like emailing everybody, no replies. And then I printed my portfolio and started bringing to the studios.
Right.
And then when I brought to Spin Visual Effects, it was around lunchtime, and the receptionist was out for lunch, so the producer came out, and their head of production actually got my little book.
Nice.
And he was like, interesting, and didn't say a word, just like, oh, good luck, and walked away.
Right.
But
You had a feeling about you.
well, by the time I got home, he called me,
Nice.
so I was like, yes, so I'm in. But
I think that's one of the best feelings too in the beginning, getting into the industry, because it's very competitive, and at that time too, especially, that was like 6-7 years ago.
Well, the first job is always the hardest,
Yeah.
right? Like it's pretty much impossible for you to get the first job, and after you get your first job and improve yourself, then it's impossible to be unemployed.
Right. If you make a good mark and you're good at what you do.
Yeah, well, if you're dedicated, you're eventually gonna be good, right?
Right. And then, so your portfolio consisted of just like graphic design stuff, or like 3D stuff as well?
No, I did. I never really worked on graphic design. I just went to school for it.
Gotcha. So your portfolio was pretty much catered towards the animation industry.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then like from there, I was kind of getting sick of visual effects, because the hours are a little bit more crazy, and I was always planning on doing characters, but on visual effects, the closest to characters I was doing was digital doubles for some scenes, and that wasn't fulfilling enough.
Those are the scans where you're cleaning it up, or?
Yeah, for some shows were scans, for some shows like was from scratch, and but it wasn't that fulfilling, right? Like because you want to design the character, you're like, I wanted to be more involved in it, and then that's when I applied in Nirvana and I met you. Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy when I think about it, how fast time flies by.
Yeah, because that has been 7 years, I think, like from.
Damn.
Yeah.
7 years. Yeah, I remember I bumped into you and I saw your portfolio and stuff. I was like, this guy's really good. I need to reach his level one day.
Well, that day came so fast.
Well, that's what it comes down to, I guess. Like surrounding yourself with people that inspire and motivate you, and then you're like, and even now, like I think the people that aren't necessarily like haven't reached their, I wouldn't say not good, but like haven't reached their potential, are the ones that are confident in their skill, when they're like, yeah, I've made it, I'm good at what I do, right? Versus the people that are like, I still need to learn, I still need to improve. Like I've been following like there's another artist from Brazil. He worked on God of War.
Rafael
Grassetti, like his stuff. Like you can see, like even in his talks and everything, he talks about how he's continuing to, like, every project he works on is like a learning experience, right?
The guy's a beast.
Yeah, so if you look at, and then you see his sculpts and stuff, and he's making like all these Smash Bros characters and stuff like that on a daily basis. And like in the talks, he explains about his learning approach, right? Not that I'm good at what I do. I've made it.
Well, when you make the main characters of God of War, but you're still working on your personal projects, that shows that you have what it takes, right? Like
so it's like super inspiring to see people like that. Shout out to Rafael, like I said. So growing up in Brazil, I guess. So what did your parents like? Did they have any expectations of you growing up, like, or were they okay with you jumping into the field of the art field?
My mom's proud of me no matter what I do.
Right.
So it's that kind of mother. And my dad wants me to work for him. He sells products for a laboratory. He has a company. And I think that was part of why I was so comfortable moving to the art field, because I had a safety net to fall back on. So yeah, if nothing works, I could just like give up and go work for my dad, and I would make a pretty decent living too. So it was good to have like the.
So you had support.
Yeah.
On both ends.
Yeah, and I didn't have to worry about college tuition. Like my dad took care of that, so I was But that being said, I kind of believe on the benefit of the struggle.
Yeah.
So, so I think I didn't achieve my full potential because I had things too easy.
But at the same time, I think you still have that mindset where it's like you realize in order to take it to the next level. Well, you have that growth mindset, right?
I hope so.
Like, that's why even when I met you at Novana, I guess you and I, we started talking more in terms of like the growth and that kind of stuff when we were at ARC. So
yes.
When I started introducing you to the daily artwork, and I'm like, yo, you can make an art piece a day, that kind of stuff, inspired by people, and like.
You showed me Beeple Crap's work, and you showed me that book, The War of Art.
Yeah, so if anybody is interested in like tackling procrastination, The War of Art, you should check that out. And then again, people. This is the second podcast. We're probably gonna keep bringing him up with every 3D design artist.
And I just met him in Brazil. It was pretty
that's
insane.
pretty surreal. The guy's a monster when it comes to, I guess, discipline and inspiration and stuff like that.
Yeah. So after you brought that up, and so I started focusing. You were doing dailies at the time. No, I think you just finished doing dailies.
I finished at the time because when I got the job at ARC, I was like, I fulfilled my duties, like in terms of having portfolio pieces to show to get a new job and like level up my skill.
Yeah, but you did for a long time, right? You were doing artwork a day for how long?
250 days or so. Yeah. So
That's
almost a year.
Yeah, I broke at 30 days. So I was aiming for a year. And then when I got like 20 days, I was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna give up."
But your artwork, like if you look at it, you're doing full-blown characters from scratch. Because even people's stuff, what he does, for example, is like
he reuses a lot.
They reuse assets and they composite it and they add shaders and stuff, which is still
it's amazing.
It's amazing, right? And they use Octane and they push the limits in terms of render engines and animate things with dynamics and all that kind of stuff. But that's like if you were to like compare the two different approaches to making dailies, what we did was a little bit more complex because we were doing concept to complete from scratch.
Yeah.
So
it was my problem was I could not go down in quality because I did the first day was a little bit lower quality, and then I think like when I got to the weekend and I improved the quality because I had more time to spend on. And I could not force myself to go down, so I just kept like I couldn't lower the quality bar, and I just was a stressful month. but
that in itself, I guess you learn about your approach to artwork and stuff like that too.
Oh yeah, even like the personal work that got me hired for Next Gen, it was I did that during those 30 days. So
So it's like just those 30 days.
No problem, thank you. Thank you, and thanks Beeple. I told him that too.
Chain reaction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, even when I was at Novena, so I have to give shout outs to, remember Peter Mai?
Yes.
So he sent me a video of it was like an artist talk. I think I sent you that video too, of people explaining like the concept behind creating an art piece every day and not giving a fuck about like what the quality is, like getting shitty ideas out and doing it for the sake of like learning experiences. And then so that got me inspired to do it because I was like, and I got a new computer at the time and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna like crank out abstract render, doesn't matter, I can rotate cubes and like add emissive textures to it. And then from that, like, and I guess when you reach a specific point in the industry as well, you get when the work becomes redundant and you're not expressing your creative freedom and like what you're passionate about, like working on, then you have that urge to do side things, right? And that's why I guess we do side projects and freelance for that reason, right? Because then once work gets redundant and you're not working on projects that are, I guess, meeting that need, that's it's an outlet, and it's a good practice too.
Yeah, the hardest thing I've done on the past few months is start saying no to freelance work. Yeah, because I think I go where I am mostly because I never said no to any work. Like every time people ask me something, I always do it without complaining.
Right.
But now I got a kid, and saying yes to freelance work was saying no to family time and to personal projects.
Yeah.
And so I started saying no to freelance work, and then I broke. I got like one freelance gig, and I really regret it because I don't think I focused enough on the work or on my family when I was doing that. So I think that has been the last freelance gig I'm doing for the coming years, because I really want to push personal work now.
Because you improve, I guess, as an artist as well. And that's another thing too, I guess. If you don't need, like, everybody needs extra money.
Yeah.
But if you don't need it, it's, when it comes to freelance and stuff, depending on the companies you're working with, like even myself included, like some people that you work with, like the deadlines are very short, the expectations are very high, and then doing that after 9 to 5 and then other responsibilities burns you out eventually.
And the other thing is, like, the way I start rationalizing is, instead of, like, I would pay the amount I'm being paid by the freelance, I would pay to have that time to work on my personal projects.
Right.
So that's it, right? I'm just investing my time on what I'm choosing to do instead of just seeking the paycheck every day, right? Like that.
Yeah, another thing I've been diving into too in that regard is like getting more into exploring ways where you can get passive income because even like in our industry, from what we're working on, the assets creation, all that kind of stuff, whether it's tutorials or anything, YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff, you can benefit from that, and you can put that out there as like you're selling yourself as a product almost, right?
Yeah.
Because you have like a vast amount of knowledge that other people will cater to, right? And then the thing is, like, that type of stuff, once you put it out there overnight, like over time, it's going to evolve on its own, right? And then that versus like doing freelance stuff, which is like a specific amount of time for a specific amount of money.
And a lot of times you cannot even show.
Exactly, right? Until maybe 2 years later when the project is out. And by that time, it's everything's irrelevant if the project is out. So you and I have worked on some projects that crashed and crumbled.
Oh yeah. Well, I think they're making now.
Yeah?
I don't know. I see some new images, some old new images.
Oh, can we talk about it? I guess it's at the time where they did come out and like they had flyers and stuff.
Yeah. So it's Blazing Samurai.
Blazing Samurai. So when Celso and I were working at Arc Productions, you were there for how long?
3 years, I think.
3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was only there for about like 6-7 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were the main character sculptor and design, like the lead.
I wasn't the lead.
You and WhatsApp were considered leads on the project.
Was I? Well, they didn't tell me that.
So you guys are leads. Well, you guys are considered leads, and then I was hired as a senior rigger at the time, so like Python scripting and stuff. And then I was doing some sculpts and stuff on the downtime.
Yeah.
And then like 6 months in, there was one day where. So what was the first thing that happened? It was like bagels.
I was off that week.
Yeah.
So I was on vacation time.
Yeah.
And
so there's a Monday. So every Monday at the studio we would have Bagel Monday, and it was like I guess they'd bring a whole bunch of bagels into the studio and cream cheese, like herb and garlic cream cheese, like very decadent style. Like so everybody would look forward to Mondays just because of the bagels. And then one week there's no bagels, and then everybody was like, "Yo, what's going on? Like, where's the bagels?" And then rumors started spreading that like they didn't pay the bagel guy. And And then they're like, oh shit.
But then they sent an email saying that like we're looking for healthier options for.
Oh yeah, I remember that. They're like the studio is now trying to implement more healthier alternatives in terms of what kind of food is brought into the studio. So everybody was like, okay, I guess we're gonna get like celery sticks and like apples, no more bagels. But then what happened was like the 2 weeks after that, or was it?
Oh no, it was the same week.
It was the same week.
So the same week, then on Friday nobody got paid.
Yeah.
And everybody freaked out, but then they sent.
And then they sent an email saying it was a glitch in the system.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you're working for a company that has like 550 employees, a glitch in the system is a pretty big deal.
So, but the thing is, because I was out on vacation and I checked my account and they didn't get paid, what I thought was because I had just changed banks at the time, so I was like, oh, I must have given them. So I gave them some wrong information, wrong number or whatever. Like Tuesday, because Monday was a holiday, so Tuesday when I get back.
Yeah.
I guess things started.
Yeah, there was like a civic holiday or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I forgot what I was doing too, but my phone started blowing up.
Yeah, same thing.
And then I looked at my phone, and there's like a Facebook group made with like I guess every employee at the studio.
Yeah, that was overwhelming. Like keeping up with that group. The group stressed me out more than being unemployed.
Yeah, because everybody was panicking, right? Some people had mortgages and stuff like that. Some people were relocated to the city just for the job, and
yeah, it was pretty bad for a lot of people. I was good. Like I was like, well, there's the break I was looking for.
Yeah.
But then like the Facebook group was stressing me out, and all the studios were making job fairs for.
Which was interesting in of itself.
Yeah. Well, Arc stole most artists, like most senior artists from all the studios in Toronto, and then they go bankrupt, and the studios were like, "Oh, time to get people back, right?"
Right.
So they did the job fairs, and I started getting more stressed about because I was like, "Oh my God, there's over 500 people that do the same thing that I do." So if I don't get a job now, maybe there's no more positions when I actually decide to look for it.
Right.
So within a week, I was working again.
Yeah, you landed a job at Tangent right after that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you went to IB, to Industrial Brothers.
Industrial Brothers, yeah. So we both landed in pretty decent places.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like we put the work in. But I wasn't scared to be honest. I was like, yo, I need to just polish my resume and CV and get in touch with the right people.
Yeah.
And then
well,
at the end of the day, we've been in the industry long enough where people understand our work ethic and like where we stand. So
I think the most beneficial thing to my career was art going down.
Yeah, no, same with mine. So it was like a blessing in disguise, and
because now I have like 500 people that I knew are spread like in the world. It's not even just Toronto.
Right.
Like in our studios, like everywhere that so I got freelance from Thailand because of this.
Right.
Like it's I don't even know how it happened, but like now there's a lot of people that, as you mentioned, like I was one of the main character artists at ARC, and if they need a character person, they think back on who they knew. Even if they didn't work directly with me, they knew that I was the character guy, so they reach out. So I got a lot of freelance work from people just that remember my name. And when I applied at Tangents, like there was no questions asked because it was the same art director as the show we were working, so he vouched for me too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool, but yeah, that's the community, I guess.
Yeah. And
shit hits the fan, everybody. But it was good though, like the community was pretty good. And even now, I think there's like a Facebook group where people still post job postings.
Yeah, I kind of abandoned my Facebook. Like I deleted from my phone. I only look. I look up on the browser here and there, and I noticed like, oh, this group still exists. They still post.
There's like job postings and stuff there because I guess it's trusted artists from that company.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so what kind of things do you implement in terms of work ethic and like just mindset wise? Because like before the podcast, I remember we were talking briefly about how it's just like all in the mind depending on what you do, which is.
Yeah, now I'm one thing I'm trying to start is I saw in a random YouTube video because the everyday mentality doesn't always work, especially now that I have a kid and things get in the way. So there is the 2-day mentality. It's what I try to incorporate. It's like never going 2 days without doing something related to my goals.
Right.
So like if shit happens today and I can't do anything, it's fine. Like I don't stress about it, but I cannot let that happen 2 days in a row. So
because then it starts to become a habit.
Yeah.
I think Tom Bilyeu talks about that too. So he has the same. You know who Tom Bilyeu is?
No.
Like Impact Theory. Like he has a whole bunch of podcasts with like successful entrepreneurs. And
I think that might be him.
Yeah. So he has the same mentality where it's like he doesn't go 2 days without, because he realizes that then that becomes that not doing anything for 2 days, it starts to become a habit. It spills into.
Or break your habit too.
Or break your habit. Yeah. But
what about you?
Me, for me, like to be honest, it's like more of a, I don't know, proving to yourself on a daily basis and becoming the strongest version of yourself, right? And then the mind is like a very busy thing depending on like what you feed it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I watch like things that are not relevant towards my growth and understanding of like what will lead me to be more successful and happier and I guess more relaxed with life and wealthy in the future, if I feed it junk, I'm gonna become lazy and distracted. Versus if I listen to audiobooks and like read stuff like and constantly expand the mind and like do meditation, for example. And it's like these simple little things that's like you change your external influence to a way where it's catered towards the direction you want to be steered towards, like your trajectory, right? So like for example, like we did the Wim Hof breathing exercises, the cold showers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like even something as simple as that, most people don't do anything like that. And it's like, the reason why we do it is because it's like, you get used to that uncomfortable feeling, right? That flinch. And I think there's a video you sent me one day of a guy doing it for 30 days and like he described it as like getting over the flinch factor.
Yeah.
Like even when you're starting a project or anything from scratch, that hesitation where you're like, oh, like I fear it might not go well. And then when you get used to that feeling, your conscious is like becoming in control of the subconscious in a way.
Yeah. Some days.
Yeah.
Some days I stay more time like waiting to turn the shower on than actually in the shower, just because like I'm like, oh my god, the cold water is gonna hit.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared for that. So I stay like a good 3 minutes exitating there, like just like maybe I just do a warm one today.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck it.
and then yeah, doing little things like that, even on a day-to-day basis in terms of like work and like you know, whether it's going to the gym or whether it's writing in the journal or like planning next steps in terms of where you want to be headed in life, like that becomes a habit. And then you like rewire your brain in a way where it's like your path becomes clear in terms of what you need to do to attain whatever goals you have planned, versus being like a lost subconscious autopilot mode, which most people are in.
Well, one thing that you mentioned that it reminded me of something is like the audiobook part, because I've been like so into audiobooks those days and podcasts that I think that has been harmful a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm overwhelming my mind with information.
Yeah.
And to the point that I stop absorbing a little bit.
Right.
So
execution is like there needs to be a balance in between.
Not really absorbing, but I think that a lot of the ideas I had before, and a lot of the content I try to create, it comes from like not having anything in mind, and then my mind start wandering.
Right.
And because of like the ease of information today, I just like I'm always listening to something, so I don't have that idle time to think about things anymore.
Right.
So yeah,
I guess the solution to that would be to give yourself some time to digest and reflect on everything, because that's another thing that we are in an information age where we're connected to everyone and anything and internet, and like there's audiobooks, books, like self-help. There's so many people that like what is Jordan Peterson, Elliot Halls, Joe Rogan, like everybody. There's so much input.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, like you mentioned, is that you kind of have to step back and then digest everything, but towards I guess what you're applying, like what you're doing in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm trying to learn a new software or whatever, like I have to experiment and like face issues, fail, and like learn as I go, versus reading everything and anything about like the center pivot tool and like how to snap things. Like then you're gonna be overwhelmed, right? Because there's so much information and you're not gonna know what to start. Versus like having a plan of like, okay, I'm gonna do this from start to finish, and then you're kind of executing. That's the best way to learn, right? Yeah,
you acquire information as you need.
As you need it, right? And it is very easy to drown in information, whether it's mindset wise or, and like in today's day and age, relationship stuff, like dating, like same thing. It's like the pickup artist. Like that's when you mention that information. That's the first thing that comes to mind, because I know so many guys in today's day and age where they read all of this stuff of how to like talk to a girl or how to approach or how to do this, and they've never approached her. So they never, but they know all of the different scenarios.
This doesn't work.
This doesn't work. It's like, it's not working. It's like, have you experienced, like, have you gone out and actually tried to like communicate with the human? It's like, no, I'm too shy. It's like, well, you need to work on that then. It's like more of the introspective stuff first before that, like getting all this information.
Yeah, so what I've been doing to avoid that now is like choosing not to listen to things sometimes, but like I have to make an effort not to listen to something. It used to be the opposite, right? Like now it's like, no, like if I'm doing it, like trying to be present on whatever I'm doing, and if listening to an audiobook now, it's gonna diminish my experience here in any way, I'm gonna choose not to do this now, and then I do this later, right? Like even like walking my dog, because I was going through so many audiobooks just walking my dog, but then like it's removing myself from the experience. Like I'm not as present with him when I'm doing that.
I see what
you
you're
know, like
saying.
so I'm not enjoying the playtime with him as much,
right.
Because my mind is like, my attention is split. So, and even though that's not like, it's not something that we think that it's gonna benefit us in the long term, but any experience we have, like we shouldn't be focused only on one thing, right? Like any experience we have is gonna help us.
It correlates to different aspects of your life, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you might get inspiration from like the most random thing, and you incorporate that to like an artistic. Versus I understand what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense. And that's another thing that I actually have that problem too, where I guilt trip myself if I'm not doing anything or I'm not learning.
Guilt is my best friend.
Yeah. But in a way it's beneficial, but at the same time sometimes it's not, because like then you can't enjoy downtime. Like when you don't feel like you deserve like an hour or 2 hours because your mind is constantly going. It's like, I could be learning right now, I could be improving right now. And then over the last couple of years, like I've, I guess, become more acceptant and zen to that. But before, like even while I was doing the dailies, half an hour, if I'm not doing anything, the guilt would start to consume me.
So the guilt consumes me in, like I'm not there yet, because I suffer on both sides. If I am focusing on something, I feel guilty because I'm not spending time with my family. And I'm like, oh my god, like my wife is just like dealing with the kid by herself now, I should be with her. But then if I'm with her, and I'm like, oh my god, 2 hours have passed, got nothing done today. So it's it doesn't matter what I do, I feel guilty about it. I think that's perks of being an artist.
I guess at the end of the day, you just have to accept it, to be honest. It's like what you do, you kind of reflect on what you have accomplished, and if you haven't, you just accept it. Like, you know what, that was my rest time. But the approach, like there's a guy by the name of Naval, I don't know if you've heard him.
No.
He's a very wise guy, and he talks about a lot of very interesting approaches to like things in like modern day society. And so he, like you mentioned, how you don't do the daily approach anymore. Like he's of the same mindset where it's like people shouldn't do 9 to 5 or whatever, because we're more like, we're not robotic, we're not machines, right? It's more of a like how like a lion goes out to hunt, right? Like for 2-3 hours you'll have like very high productivity, and then after that's done you can like chill, relax, and then once you get that inspiration and motivation again, you jump on it again, and you have another 2-3 hours or an hour of productivity, and getting into that headspace rather than guilt tripping yourself of not having whatever 12 hours of consistent work, because that's not normal if you think about it. Like you will burn out, you'll burn out eventually, and you're not going to be as enthusiastic as you were after the first 4 or 5 hours of like doing anything, right?
Yeah, my goal now is actually 2 hours. Like if you could put 2 hours a day on personal projects, I'm happy.
Cranking it out.
Yeah, because I might go back to getting up even earlier now. So I done that, like when I was doing dailies, I was trying to do that. And getting up at 5 and doing a couple hours before going to work. And I might get back to that, because at night there's too many things going on, right? Like, you know, the things that need to be done start getting in the way. So you see the dishes there and you're like, okay, I gotta do the dishes first. and then the dog starts whining, he wants to go out, and then you go walk the dog, and you get back. So at night there's too many things that can get in the way.
Right.
As in the morning, not even the dog wants to go out.
Yeah.
It's like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. It's the like a.
How long is your commute to?
It's about an hour door to door.
Yeah. And then so I guess you have that time to work on personal stuff too, right?
Yeah, I do. I do work in. I have a tablet, so I do some sculpting in the train, and it's about 30 to 40 minutes train ride, and then the extra 20 minutes is getting to.
Alright, so as someone in the industry for, I guess you've been in the industry for how long now?
I would say
10.
10 years. I don't count the time in Brazil anymore. I used to count that time, but that was a joke. So.
Yeah, what advice would you give to up and coming artists that are like recent graduates or that want to get into the industry?
I would just keep pushing, right? I think personal work is key.
Yeah.
If you have production work, that helps you show that you're reliable, but that doesn't show your skill because there's like the fingers of the art director have touched that, and you got opinions, you might have got help from other artists. So production work is not as good as an indication of your artistic views.
Right.
So personal work is key, and if you're not getting any, get out of your ass and go knock on some doors. I know companies say they don't like that, but if you have no idea how many emails they get a day, right? If you go there with a physical copy of your portfolio, they're gonna look at it, even if it's to throw in the trash, right? They're at least gonna flip through that handbook on their way to the trash can. So at least you got noticed, right?
I guess also coming out to all of the industry events and getting feedback from people that are already in the industry.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and not being afraid of, I guess, reaching out to people in the industry as well. That's what I found that helps a lot too. Even I've been to some of the taffy events and stuff like that, and people do reach out and they ask for advice. And I remember when I wasn't in the industry, I'd reach out to people and most people wouldn't respond, right?
Yeah.
But nowadays I feel like it's different because I guess you and me, for example, we know what it was like back in the day, and it's better to guide someone and show them the right path in terms of hey, you need to work on this and this.
Definitely.
Or hey, check out this guy's artwork, do some more research in terms of topology and anatomy, for example.
But you also have to be aware of the quality of your work, right? If you're presenting something and you're super proud of and it's clearly not good, then
ego is, you have to toss that shit out the window. You can't.
Oh, it took me some time though.
Yeah.
For me, I used to get very offended by notes. Not really offended, but I would take personally a little bit. I was like, oh, my way was better, but that happens so many times that you get callous. It doesn't affect you anymore.
Start to erode as an artist. But it's a good thing. At the end of the day, is that having an open mind that changes you as a person and your perspective to everything that you work on, because nothing is perfect at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Unless you're this is my style, and but you're not gonna get very far with that either.
Well, even your style has to adapt depending on what you're doing, right?
Right.
I like to think of style in two different ways. So there is style, your natural style, and your style by choice.
Right.
So if you're working for somebody, if you're doing working in a project, that's a style by choice. You gotta analyze, see what style is necessary for that task, and try to implement that. Right. But natural style is what you do when you don't even think about it. You just sit down and draw something or sculpt something. Whatever comes out, it has if you do that for some time, it's gonna have a unique look to it, and that's what I call natural style.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's a mistake try to force the natural style, but when people are seeking style, I think it's the style by choice for a specific project, even if it's your personal project, right?
Right. So what programs do you currently use? What's your go-to tool set?
Well, ZBrush is where I live most of the time, but I'm being exploring a lot with Blender. That's that's the reason why I'm back at Tangent now, because I think it's the only studio in Toronto using Blender as their main 3D package.
And what's the reason behind that? Like why do they use?
So for them, that's actually a pretty good question because a lot of people think it's just because it's a free software that they use it.
Right.
But they spend more time with Blender than not time, like more money on Blender than they would if they were buying Maya. The reason for it is they have a full team of developers dedicated on implementing new tools on Blender.
Gotcha.
That they end up donating for the Blender Foundation at some time.
Right.
And they also invest in the Blender Foundation, so they donate actual money on it. And on top of everything, there is about 2 weeks learning curve for people, new hires, because not everybody knows how to use Blender. They already scheduled that on the budget, right? Like, so when they hire somebody new, if they're a Maya artist or a Max artist, they know it's gonna take at least two weeks for them to actually start working on something, like going over that curve. And the reason why they choose that is because they're betting on the future, right?
Right.
Blender is like, we proved that too with Next Gen, right? Like, it's the Next Gen looks amazing.
That was made in Blender as well?
Was made in Blender and rendered in cycles. And so that was like physical proof that software is capable of anything that Maya is capable of.
Right.
And now with the new version, it's capable of more things, right? Like there's tools that no other software have that they have implemented. And they're catching up even on ZBrush because the sculpting tools are getting better.
Right. I didn't even know you could sculpt in Blender.
Oh yeah, and it's getting close. There is like, they just added a feature now. Oh, that's another thing. Like every week, you can download a new build that has new features that you didn't even expect. As in Maya, like you have to wait a full year for a new version. Right. That doesn't change anything, right? Like you have like maybe a couple new things. Like every week there's something new in Blender. That's mind blowing. Right. There is you actually should check out. There is a new temporary IK for posing. So it's a brush that you place in the hand, like to move this, and it sets an IK chain from the elbow to the hand for you, like temporary. It's like, it's insane. It's still experimental. It's not perfect, but it's the only software that's pushing that direction. And Tangent chose to invest time and money on that because they believe that Blender is going to take over, and it's going to be easier for people to actually get into the industry. Right. Using a free software rather than paying 2,000 Canadian dollars a year to have a license of Maya, right? Right. So they're betting on the artists by choosing Blender.
Yeah, I think we're lucky enough to be at studios where they constantly upgrade and like keep up to date. Because there are a lot of studios that are still working like very old versions of Maya and stuff. But I guess it's dependent on the projects too, right?
Yeah.
But like while we were at Novella, like but same thing is based off of the projects and the quality that they establish. But it's fun working on things as they're upgrading. Yeah. Because you don't want to come out of a studio with Lamberts and mental ray shaders. For those of you who are familiar with the 3D aspect of things. Yeah. But no, that's awesome. And then for rendering and stuff like that, you said they use Cycles?
Yeah, Cycles is like their native ray tracing render engine. Yeah. And I have no complaints about it. Right. Yeah. I mean, even like my workflow in ZBrush was using Keyshot for the longest time.
I love Keyshot.
Yeah. Now I dish Keyshot for Cycles. Yeah. Like it takes
is Cycles GPU based as well, or is it CPU
yeah, it's both. You can choose. Okay. Yeah. So whatever is stronger on your computer, you set that to. Yeah. At work I have a CPU. At home GPU because. Right. So.
And then there's another one. Corona's people from Blender use that as well, or no?
I know you can install other. Yeah. Like there is a third-party render engines, but most people are using either Cycles or Eevee. Eevee is.
Oh yeah, Eevee is the one I was thinking about actually.
Yeah. So Eevee is the real-time or game engine looking. Right. And it just like is just as good, if not better than. Marmoset 2 bag. Right. So, but it's in the software. You can actually animate seeing the final results. It blows my mind. It's pretty amazing.
Have you dived into Octane at all?
No. Yeah.
Have you seen the renders?
I've seen the work. It's pretty amazing. But again, I think it's more about the people who chose to use than the actual software.
Right.
Yeah. I think that is the reason why Blender had such a stigma about it before, because most people were using because it's free,
Right.
and those were not like they were not in the industry yet, because everybody in the industry was using whatever software the company they work for is using.
Exactly.
So there was no professionals using Blender for the longest time.
Right.
And now you see that like Ubisoft invested, I think was $800,000 on Blender.
To Blender.
Yeah, so I think they're using at first on their cinematics department, but they're gonna try to spread, because like at a game studio, doesn't matter like what matters the most is the game engine you're using. The 3D package doesn't matter that much, right?
Right.
So they're investing heavily in Blender, and Epic Games invested, I think, was $1.5 million.
So they have input in terms of what kind of plugins and like how they want to.
Yes, that and support too, right?
Support,
and and the
Can you
tangent
do
also.
that with Maya and stuff? I don't think so. Right? You can send bug reports.
Yes.
But
Well, on Maya, like, because let's say I studied like tangent, like at peak production we get to around 200 people. So a studio that has 200 people and 200 licenses, if they reach out to Autodesk and say like, oh, this is not working, they're gonna get back to it really quick, because they're making a fortune on of this studio, right? But at Blender, like at Tangent, we have a full like a developers team, but they also have direct connection with the Blender Foundation because of the donations we made. And when I say donations, again, it's not just money. They donate time too. They donate the tools that we develop. They get donated to Blender too. So I think it's the open source mentality, right? Like,
Right. That's dope. Man, I might dive into Blender.
Yeah.
But I think I'm exploring Octane at the moment. ZBrush and Octane, and then Cinema 40 actually.
Yeah.
More of the motion graphic stuff.
Well,
that's piquing my interest at the moment. And then Blender has like a similar like history-based node system too, right?
They're implementing way more node-based things now, but the main thing with Cinema 4D is how easy it is to integrate with After Effects, right? That's why a lot of people choose Cinema 4D for motion graphics.
Yeah.
Well, that and Octane.
And Octane, yeah.
So
no, I was actually surprised at how easy it was to jump into Cinema 40. Like it's very, very user friendly.
I have never used it.
It's like, what kind of phone do you have?
Android phone.
Okay, you have an Android. It's like shifting from like an Android to an iPhone, where it's like very, I don't know, everything's like in your face. Like, oh, you want to do this? And click here.
Oh, I see.
You want to add hair to everything and like just change like scrubbing things to like add like the volume and stuff. It's like very intuitive and like very easy. Versus like, I don't know, ZBrush, where it's like you have to open menus and you have to know where everything is.
It's funny, yeah, ZBrush, I never understood why people gave ZBrush so much crap, because I've been using since the beginning, right?
So you're familiar with all.
For me, it's the easiest software ever.
Yeah.
And then I started teaching at Seneca, and when I was presenting ZBrush for the first time to some people, I was like, oh my god, this is so hard. Like, then I saw people actually struggling with it. Yeah.
If you know what you're doing, it makes sense to you, but if you don't and you're trying to find a menu, it's like you're literally operating a spaceship. It's like you have to open up control panels and dock it.
Yeah.
And I'm still, like, to be honest, I'm still not a fan of like the panels opening. You have to scrub through, and like they finally implemented folders. After how long?
No, ZBrush is behind in some things for sure.
Yeah, but the program itself is like a beast. Yeah, I love working in ZBrush as well.
Yeah, the competition doesn't even touch it, right? It's very unique on that sense.
The primary focus is not.
Yeah, but I think ZBrush is easier for somebody who is learning ZBrush before learning 3D than somebody who actually knows 3D, because then they're expecting things to be in a certain way and they're not, right? Like that's.
All right, so for you as an artist in Toronto, like what do you see yourself? Like, what are your plans moving forward? Like, what are your goals, dreams, and aspirations?
Well, I want to stay in Toronto. I like living here, and career-wise, I think I'm gonna stay where I am for until I make some of my own projects take off. Like that's my ambition.
Are you gonna pitch some stuff, or are you gonna do personal, like from start to finish?
So I wanna pitch, but I'm afraid. Like I'm afraid of rejection. So I will pitch, but with the intention of finishing. If no, like the way I'm writing the show is as a series. So it would be like 3 seasons, 9 episodes each season. But I'm writing in a way that it's easy for me to adapt to each season to a graphic novel. So when I'm finishing, I already wrote this before. But I didn't work for a long time, and some of the ideas start getting mushy. So I'm writing again from scratch, and I'm finishing the first season now. And then I'm gonna stop writing and go back and try to figure out and make like a pitch Bible and try to sell that. But I'm gonna try to sell that just as an experiment, and if nobody picks it up, I'm finishing as a graphic novel. That's the.
Nice. So right now your parents probably look at you like, you made it.
No, my parents, they when I got my first job here, they were already like, oh fuck, he's not coming back.
They're still in Brazil right now?
Yeah.
And your father's still working at the, what is it, chemical plant?
Yeah.
Some flasks and stuff.
Yeah, he's still doing that, and my sister is working with him now, so that took I'm a little bit relieved about it, because
how many siblings do you have?
I have two. Yeah, 2 half siblings. So it's on my dad's side. So
Older or younger?
Older. She's 3 years older, and my brother is 5. Yeah.
Are they in the? So your sister's working for your dad. Is your brother in the art field as well, or no?
No, my brother is a pharmacist. So
similar.
Yeah, he could be working for my dad, but there's some family history involved there. I think eventually he's gonna go back there. But.
So if the industry started booming in Brazil, would you go back? Not considering like family situation and all that kind of stuff. Like in terms if all that was easy to pick up and go, would you?
Well, pick up and go is easier. I think safety of my family is the biggest concern.
Right. Because it's not too safe like that. No.
Well, I didn't I just came back, right? I went there I was there for a week, and I didn't feel unsafe. I was surprised about that. Right. Everything was fine, but then when you start thinking back on everybody that I know has been robbed at least one time in Brazil. Yeah. I had a hostage situation pretty much, right? When I was 14, I was.
You had a hostage situation?
Yeah, they broke into my place, they tied me up.
Holy shit!
I was held
I actually don't know this.
Oh no! No. Yeah, so that's pretty traumatic, right? It didn't affect me that much. It affected my mom way more. She wasn't present, but when she,
So
but
what happened in that situation? Would you like to share your experience?
Sure. So. It was summer break at school. I spent the night on the internet, so I went to bed it was 3 or 4 in the morning.
Okay.
And then somebody shakes me to wake me up, and I think it's a friend that wants to go do something. Okay. I get up, I don't see anything because they put a hood on my head.
Oh shit!
And I feel a knife pressing on my neck, and I was I finished getting up, I still think it's a friend. And
so you thought it was a joke this entire time?
Yeah.
Like a prank or something?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And then he the guy presses the knife harder and starts feeling the cut, and he's laid down. So I laid down. We still had a phone line at home, so I had the phone in my room. He rips the cable from the phone and tied me up with the phone cable. Pretty creative, because it's 2 in 1, right? He removes my way of communication with the outside and gets a free rope. And lucky enough was the day that both my parents work, so they hired this poor lady that would come twice a week to clean up and help out with some things. And it was the day that she was there, so she was tied up back to back with me.
Holy shit.
And they
thought she's gonna come and rescue you.
No. I was being sarcastic. Was unlucky for her, right? Yeah. And when they broke in, they held her at gunpoint and tied her up too. So I don't know how many people were there. I think it was 3 or 4. And
so what was going through your head at the time, while you're tied up?
I was surprisingly calm. I was just I was a bitch. Anything they asked me, I was it's right there. Gotcha. I was helping them out with anything I could, just survival mode. Right. But I wasn't freaking out or anything.
But I think that's a smart approach.
Well,
You're giving some.
I was like, I'm 14. There's no point of being brave.
Right.
So the lady was freaking out, and she started screaming. She was losing, like she was crying too loud, and they want to shut her up. So they cut, like we were tied with the same cable, so they cut the cable and tried to lock her on the washroom, but the washroom could only be locked from the inside, so it didn't work out. So they bring her back, and they start saying like, "Oh, we're gonna cut your head off if you don't shut up." And that made her shut up. That worked.
Yeah.
So, but when they cut because they used the same cable to tie both of us up, one of my hands got free, but my feet was tied with my hands too, so I was stuck still. But I could, like when nobody was in the room, I could take a pic. And when I took a pic, I look around, every single thing is on the ground. There's nothing inside a cabinet anymore. Like everything is on the ground. And I'm like, okay, I had a free hand, I can get away, right? And then I look at the windows, and every house has bars on the windows in Brazil to keep the bad guys out, but was keeping me in, right? Yeah. So I was like, oh, never mind. So I just put the hood back in, mangled the rope. I didn't tie myself back up. I just trying to escape. I just pretended I just mangled the ropes together, and it looked like I was tied up, and I just waited. And they eventually, like from time to time, they would take a pic on the room and then move out. Yeah. And I was held there by for 6 or 8 hours.
Holy shit.
So I had to piss, and they didn't want to help me out. So poor lady, because she shared, she was tied to me. So I went to bed there, and then they were pretty smart on the way they did things, because they left every single door in the house open and window when they left. So the wind was pretty strong, and would from time to time would close a door or a closet or something, and I thought they were still there, but they were long gone. I don't know for how long, right? Because I would hear noises and I'm like, fuck, they're still here. And then my mom got home, and I heard, and when she got on my room, she sees me tied up in a hood, me and her tied up in a hood, and the bed's wet, so she thought I was killed, right? And I didn't know it was her, so she freaks out, and then I had the free hand, so I take off my the thing from my head, and Mom, it's okay, just get a knife, and then she kneels on the ground and start crying, and Mom, please just go get a knife. And so she goes to the kitchen, comes back with a fork. That's how out of she was out of it, and I never stepped on that home again. My mom sent me away to stay with her sister for a couple months.
So your parents still lived at that house?
Well, they claimed, they sold the house right away. Yeah. And moved to 2 towns over. Yeah. To a safer place. Was
So did they ever find out who did?
No.
Nothing.
I think one guy got caught trying to use
a card or something.
2 years later, trying to do to pass on some checks,
And what about your father? What did he do?
I don't know. I don't remember. His reaction was, I think he was more worried about dealing with things and getting he took control. My mom was a little bit useless at the time. She got oh my god, she freaked out too hard. Right. So my dad just took control. So I don't remember him freaking out or anything. He just got shit done, right? He just took care of what needed to.
Damn. Yeah. That's crazy.
And pretty much everybody all my friends in Brazil have a similar story.
So it's not something that's unexpected.
Yeah. So
do you think that's why you're so calm? I guess this is happening.
It could be worse, right? Even though my family has been, my family is doing well there, and nothing like that has happened on my family, the longest time. But from time to time, I hear from friends that something similar happens, and one of my friend's brother got shot in the face because of an iPhone not long ago.
Fuck.
So, like, even though I overall feel safe,
Yeah.
from time to time some shit like that happens. And I don't want my family to be involved on any of that, right?
Right.
Here you see, like, if you go up to Rosedale, there is, like, one of the nicest neighborhoods in Toronto.
Right.
You see kids playing on the street.
Right.
Like, that doesn't happen in Brazil anymore, right? So...
Is it still like that? I think people don't...
Oh, it happens, but like, anybody who is doing okay lives in a closed, in a gated community.
Gated community?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it looks more like a prison than anything, right? Like, I don't want my house to be surrounded by barbed wire. So,
Right.
it's... yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Well, that took a turn.
Yeah, the podcast. But it doesn't really interesting though. I can't say I have any experiences similar to that, to be honest. Maybe if I was living back home, probably, but not so much.
Well, good thing we're not.
Yeah. And then something close to that, I guess, like breaking into the house. That the other day I was working like on a Tuesday here, and it was like Tuesday I was working on a freelance project at like 1 in the morning. And then I was listening to music, I was in the zone, and I hear like noises at my door. And my door is like pretty far, like down the hallway. And then so like you get heightened senses. You're like, is that someone trying to break in? It's like you're trying to comprehend what's going on. And I'm like, it's Canada, like Toronto. Who's like a homeless guy is like broke into a condo. Like, what is he trying to do? So I get up. I'm like, it's not my door. And then I start walking towards, and I can hear someone fiddling in the lock.
Oh,
Right? So this is like 1 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning on a Tuesday. I'm like, who in their right mind is, like, even if it was a mistake, it doesn't make any sense, so it must be something shady.
Yeah.
So my adrenaline started pumping. I was ready to knock out whoever was, like, no, like, I don't know, like, I didn't even have a weapon. I was like, I'm gonna see what the situation is first, like, peek at the peephole, see what it is, and then grab like a stick or a baton or a knife or something, and but I didn't think that far ahead. I'm like, let me look through the people first. So I slowly start to approach, and they're like aggressively fiddling into the lock, and I was like, okay. And then I look through the people. It's like a 5'4" woman in a dress. So
drunk as...
I don't know, like, so I was confused. So I slowly opened the door, and I'm like, hello, can I help you? And she like looks up at me with like shark eyes, like black eye, like, you know, it's like nobody's home.
Oh shit!
Like, and she's like, she's like just staring at me. I'm like, yeah, can I help you? Like, this is, do you know what unit this is? And she's like, is this not? And she mentioned her unit, and I'm like, no, this is, I think you're 2 floors and like a door. And then she apologized like 10 times, and the keys were still stuck in the lock, like in the door. So she was like either like high out of her mind or drunk, and it looked like she came from a party or something. And then she started walking me, she apologized, she introduced herself, and I was like, okay, have a good night or whatever. As she walked to the elevator, I'm like, miss, you forgot your keys. You might need your keys to go back up to your unit. And she's like super embarrassed, right? But in contrast, is like, that's what you experience in Toronto versus in Brazil. But I guess it depends on the area you live into. Like, in Toronto, there are some pretty rough patches as well.
Yeah. I heard some stories here too.
It depends on where you live. Like, I guess downtown is not too bad. But
just I heard stories here, but those are the exception, right? In Brazil, those like it's the expected.
It's expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool stuff. So I think we should end on that note. I feel like I can keep talking to you for hours and hours. And
yeah, as we always do.
As we always do, but I mean, I feel like we covered a bunch of stuff in regards to, I guess, mindset, the industry that we're in, and the industry that we're in is booming a lot too these days, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Like, even when I was getting into the field, like in my culture and like growing up, it's not too common. Like, so everybody's like, what is he doing? Like, is he in school for drawing? What is he gonna make out of himself, right? But now it's like this, like, look, like, this is what I was doing all along, and everything's becoming more digital with VR, AR.
Yeah. To the point that companies are having a hard time finding new talents. Like that's actually why I was in Brazil. I was helping Tangent recruit people. Yeah. So it's pretty good of them to send me there, because
it's an awesome time to be in the industry. So, and that's another thing too, I guess, as everything becomes more. I don't know. There's less redundant like factory work and industrial work. Everything's becoming more simplified, and the creative industry is becoming more of the norm.
Yeah.
Where people are working in areas or startups or anything like that, like all these companies where we have a lot more freedom to be in a creative field, which is blessed. Like that's.
Yeah, and way more, and people are more comfortable spending money on entertainment now too,
Yeah.
right? Like
So yeah, I guess now it's more of changing the mindset from being as consumers to like the creative side of things. I'm gonna send you a whole bunch of novel stuff.
Yeah, please do.
Really inspired by that. Do you recommend any audiobooks or podcasts or anything like that to the viewers?
Best one that I finished not long ago is called Range, and it's about how a generalist thrives in a specialized world. I really enjoyed the book. They talk a lot about you changing careers later in life and how that can be a benefit. Not like we think that you're going to be handicapped if you.
Right. It's too late to switch careers.
Yeah, but like he has some really good examples of people who are actually really good on what they do now because they were late to the game, not because they focus from an early age.
Yeah. I think when you experience a specific industry and people's drive and like what they want to do changes over time too, right?
Yeah.
It's like even me like getting into the industry is like where my goals were set and like where I wanted to be like shifted as I grew in the industry.
Definitely.
And then who's to know, like we might jump ship to like enjoy it. I don't know, like for example we might go into like the VR, like solely VR or like solely AR. And then but like 5 years ago you're like I want to be a lead on this project. That's like the dream, right? But yeah, shifting careers entirely, yeah, that could be.
Yeah, it could be entirely, or it could be just like it's interesting. It's more about how like having knowledge on fields not directly related to what you're doing can benefit you on making the right decisions, right? Like
Right. So what would you shift to if you had?
Well, I was exploring a little bit with like video making, but it's like it's always related somehow, right? Like it's never too far from what I do, but still like just having experience with one side of things can really benefit you on others. A good example that he gives is like well-trained firemen are really good on the everyday decision making of the business, right? Like the building catches on fire, they know exactly what to do. But the same people, they have a really hard time if they're sent like to help find a solution to a fire in a barn, because that's not the environment they've been trained on.
Right.
And then like the farmer that lives there have a better idea of how to get water to the proper place and how to deal with that, because he knows the location and he knows it's not his knowledge is not directly related to what he needs to do now, but it's an outside knowledge that helps with the task. So
right.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool stuff. I appreciate your time coming to join me on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. And you're more than welcome to come anytime you want, because like I said, we can probably talk about
there's
many subjects. We didn't even cover any of like the mindset stuff in terms of like going in depth with the Wim Hof stuff or the mindset stuff.
That I would love to talk about that too. But as you said, like people, if we keep going, we're gonna be here for 5 hours.
Don't want to drag it on too long. Yeah. But then again, why not? Do you have anything planned? No, I'm sure. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming.
For you.